After years of anticipation and speculation, Banjo-Tooie finally hit store shelves. For some, it surpassed the original and became one of the greatest platformers they ever played. Others would prefer the first one, but I'm not going to go into that much detail right at the beginning. Right now, it's time for a plot summary. After 2 years of trying to get Grunty out of the ground, her sisters finally show up and break the boulder. Grunty escapes, but she needs to get a new body. No one wants to go walking around looking like a skeleton. She also can't forget who did this to her in the first place. Hoping to wipe out Banjo and Kazooie, she fires a homing spell right at their house. Everybody escapes, except for Bottles, who's seen better days. And that's not the worst part. Gruntilda's plan to get a new body is to use a giant cannon that'll suck the life force out of anything it hits. So it's up to Banjo-Kazooie to stop her once again. Most of the major items return from Banjo-Kazooie. However, instead of just collecting them randomly, you now give them to certain characters. The most important item, the Jiggies, are still there. However, instead of just simply inserting them into a picture, you now have to put each piece in the right spot. This is known as Jiggy Wiggy's Challenge. Yes, that's his name. After you fill in the pictures, he'll use the Crystal Jiggy to open up the next world. The music notes also return, but instead of collecting them to open up music note doors, you now give them to Jam Jars, Bottle's brother, who will teach you all the new moves in the game. However, since Grunty's sisters told Grunty to put a lid on the rhyming, Jam Jars now does all the rhyming, and it's nowhere near as good as what Grunty used to do. In Banjo-Kazooie, you collected honeycombs that would raise your health. Now instead of automatically having your health increase, you now have to take them to Honeybee. She'll increase your health life for a certain amount of honeycombs. The Mumbo Jumbo tokens have been replaced in favor of Globos, and there are 2 Globos within each world and in the hub world. One of them you give to the new character, Mumbo Jumbo, who is now going to transform Banjo-Kazooie into different types of animals and objects. But wait, if Mumbo Jumbo's doing the transformation, where does that leave Mumbo Jumbo? Well, if you give him a Globo, you'll be able to control Mumbo Jumbo. You then guide him to a Mumbo Jumbo pad, where he'll do his little magic dance to solve a problem that only he can do. Cheeto returns, but he's pretty much as useless as he was in Banjo-Kazooie, and instead of just finding him, you now have to find 5 pages before he gives you a cheat code. Trust me, you can beat the game without his help. And there's also Heggy the Hen. And her role, I'll have to go into later. A lot of improvements have been put into Banjo-Tooie. For example, you start off with every move you learned in Banjo-Kazooie. Plus, Jam Jars will teach you a lot more, including how to split up and separate moves for Banjo and Kazooie. In Banjo-Kazooie, the music notes and the Jinjos would reappear if you left the world or died. Here, once you collect them, they're gone. You don't have to worry about collecting them again. And what's even better? The music notes aren't just worth 1 music note now. Instead, you'll see them in the nest, and they're worth 5 music notes. Plus, there's a treble clef that's worth 20 music notes. Each world also has its own transformation. And unlike in Banjo-Kazooie, where you just needed them to get into certain areas, these characters now have their own defense. And some of them are actually kind of fun to play around with, like the invincible money car. There's also a boss for each world. Some of them are actually kind of fun, and the others are, well, I'll go into more about that later. The game definitely has a lot more humor, from the warning post outside of Witchy World, as well as the burger shop owner in Witchy World. One of my biggest complaints about Banjo-Kazooie was that you weren't able to replay everything again. Well, in this one, many of the ways you get Jiggies are now done with mini-games. And all the mini-games can be replayed in 4-player multiplayer. You can also replay the bosses, but not with multiplayer. Definitely adding a much better replay value than the first game. But Banjo-Tooie still has its share of issues. I hate to talk about the same thing that everybody else talks about, but really, you just can't ignore this. I remember before playing Banjo-Tooie I saw a bunch of videos making you wonder why this was rated E for everyone, when it had a lot of things that shouldn't have been rated E. And I used to laugh about that, and it wasn't until I actually got to play Banjo-Tooie that I had to stop and say, wow, this went under the radar? I mean look, there's illegal gambling, cheating, stealing, destruction of property, and murder before you even start the game. There's also blood coming from a fish whose name I can't pronounce because I'd have to censor myself, so I usually just call him Lord Wu Fake Fake. And I'm pretty sure most of you already know about those rock formations that look like the male reproductive system. And it's in 2 of the worlds. And I'm not going to show you that, because I'm not about to let this video get flagged. I could go on and on, but there have been plenty of other videos that kind of capture the idea of what I'm going with. Besides, these aren't really problems with the games, it just makes you question why they rated it as such. Believe it or not, I actually have a lot of issues with this game that it's kind of hard for me to keep track of them all. Well, for one, there was a whole lot of backtracking in this game. In every world, you will have to backtrack because there's a part in the game that you have to learn a move to in order to complete it. This happens in every world, something that can get on my nerves at times. There wasn't a world in Banjo-Kazooie that I did not enjoy. In Banjo-Tooie, there's 3 worlds I actually don't like. I don't like Glitter Gulch Mine, I don't like Pterodactyl Land, and I certainly don't like Grunty Industries. Why? Because these levels are just too huge with nothing for you to do in them. Glitter Gulch Mine, I can easily get lost in. I don't know why, this is the 2nd world. How can I possibly get lost in this place? It should be easy. Pterodactyl Land? Way too much room to do nothing in. Grunty Industries? Look, I had to go to GameFAQs, look up bits and pieces of Cypheron's Let's Play Banjo-Tooie, and dig up an old Nintendo Power magazine that had the last 4 worlds mapped out, and I could still get lost in this place. In all honesty, there wasn't a music piece in Banjo-Kazooie I did not love. Banjo-Tooie, on the other hand, well, there's only 2 music pieces I actually really like, Jinjo Village, and the boss fight with Mr. Patches. The majority of the rest of it I find barely tolerable, and there's about 4 tracks I absolutely hate. I hate the music track to Isle of Hags, I hate the music track to Witchy World, I hate the music track to Pterodactyl Land, and I hate the music track to Grunty Industries. Why? Because they all lack personality, charm, and a catchy tune. Speaking of charm, Banjo-Tooie really had a lack of charm in it. I mean, what happened to their jiggy dance? You know the little dance they did whenever they got a jiggy in Banjo-Kazooie? Yeah, it's gone. I don't know about you, but I really love that dance. Then there was the health bar. In Banjo-Kazooie, whenever you took damage, you would see their faces get sad, and almost to the point where they just looked like they were about to croak. In Banjo-Tooie, no. Their face stays the same way the whole time. Heck, even the menu screen, I mean, which one looks more interesting? This one? Or this one? And for the record, this one has random animations. Most of the bosses are absolutely horrible. Why? Because they're just too easy. Old King Cole's not even a challenge. You can just sit there and shoot him with ice eggs or grenade eggs, and he'll basically never charge at you. But he wasn't the only easy one. Oh no. The Dragon Brothers were also incredibly easy, and it got really repetitive. Then there was the stuff that got overhyped. Oh yeah, you should know what I'm talking about, but I'm not ready to go into that just yet. I actually want to talk about the T-Rex. I thought that was completely overhyped. For something that was mentioned in the first game, and then for one of the first screenshots being the T-Rex, you can only do 2 things with him to accomplish anything in the game. He's almost useless for the rest of it unless you want to use him to go around the area that seems completely lifeless with him. Speaking of useless, Mumbo Jumbo feels like a cheap gimmick. Look how far I had to move him just to get to this one place to do one thing. And that's basically all you ever have to do with him in a level. Now I'll talk about Stop and Swap. But wait, if it was dropped, then how do you get the eggs and the ice key? Well, all you have to do is find these N64 cartridges and break them open. Inside are the eggs and the key. You give the eggs to Heggy the hen, if you remember her, who hatches the eggs, giving you a cheat code for homing eggs, a new move, and Jinjo as a multiplayer character. And the ice key? It unlocks the Mega Globo, which allows you to transform Kazooie into a dragon. There's still so much mystery about what Stop and Swap was, why it was cancelled, what it was originally supposed to do, but they could actually do a whole documentary on it. Seriously, they could. Not all the transformations are that great either. I personally hate the detonator, because you have to hurt yourself in order to kill your enemies. Plus, it's kinda hard to move him when he's hopping around. But one of the biggest issues I actually have with Banjo-Tooie is its frame rate. Oh dear lord, this frame rate is horrible! For all my complaining, Banjo-Tooie is actually a really fun game. It's still just as much fun to play as the first one, and Rare was smart enough to not overlook these flaws that I had with it. I mean, a lot of it is nitpicking, but the main flaws, such as backtracking, is easily overlooked because you only need 70 of the 90 jiggies in order to beat the game, meaning that you don't have to get them unless you want to. Even though the areas are really large, they do have these shortcuts that let you get from one area to the next, as well as a train system that'll take you to the other worlds. I complained about the music, but that's really a personal taste. Same thing goes with the charm, and I guess I can overlook the frame rate because it was trying to make the most out of the N64. And I also thought it was kinda cool that doing one thing in one world will affect another world. Though I do want this on record, I will always prefer Banjo-Kazooie over Banjo-Tooie. A 5 out of 5. It's a great game to add to your collection.